The idea of inspiration fascinates me too. The Greeks, of course, the ancient Greeks got a lot of things right. And one thing they believed was that God was within all of us. And they called it en theos, God within, from which our word enthusiasm comes. And that the God spirit within you could create wonderful works of art and new philosophies, new sciences, which accords completely with the writings of the Baha'i faith. Exactly the same idea presents itself in a different form in Baha'u'llah's teachings. But all these works are inspired from realms above.
This idea of inspiration has been with us for thousands of years. The Greeks distilled the idea into what they called the muses. Originally, there were a whole lot of muses, like goddesses, and you could call on your muse for inspiration. They eventually became three, and the three were meditation, memory, and song. The artist called upon meditation, the instinct perhaps, that mysterious spiritual side of our being, memory, the mind, the experience of life, and then poured that forth through the gift of song. Another way of describing this might be knowing and loving. The Baha'i writings tell us the very purpose of our existence is to know and love God. So perhaps here we're drawing a little closer to thinking of true art as an expression of that God spirit within. The fact that God is in the equation makes the whole affair immensely interesting, because God is the all-knowing word we give to all that is unknowable. And God is that big, huge love word we also give to explain the mystery that brought us into being. We don't know why we're here, we don't know how, but we know and love the mystery of it. We spend our lives, our civilizations, all our history of science and of art exploring this mystery. The artistic process is a mysterious and rewarding experience. This is the South African writer Andre Brink, a wonderful writer. And he describes his own experience like this: I open myself up to my own subconscious. That's why I write, to feel in touch with the whole of the self. All kinds of things keep surfacing all the time. You remember things you never knew before. Writing is a dialogue with the self and with the forces that shape the self, from the closest and most intimate personal relationships to the deepest social and cultural ones. In Hamlet's speech to the players, Shakespeare lays out in a few lines the purpose behind his drama as to hold as 'twere the mirror up to nature, to show virtue her own feature, scorn her own image, and the very age and body of the time his form and pressure. Now those words, to show virtue her own feature, strike me very deeply. They indicate that Shakespeare felt a compunction to express moral values in his theatre. Well, that's all very well for Shakespeare, living 400 years ago, when the moral boundaries were clearly defined. But how do we do it today? It's not so easy for artists today. Today, the moral landscape for artists is so confused that at times the line between what is art and what is pornography or trash seems very blurred indeed. This is certainly a dilemma that we face as artists. There's even a school of artists producing what they call anti-art. I don't pretend to understand that, but there it is. The age of individualism in which we now live has brought new power and freedom for artists, but most of us have not yet learned to use that with discipline and restraint. I think Cole Porter put it very well. In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking. Now heaven knows anything goes. Good authors too, who once knew better words, now only use 4-letter words writing prose. Anything goes. The world has gone mad today and good's bad today, and black's white today and day's night today. And most guys today that women prize today are just silly gigolos. You know that song? Yes, the world has certainly changed. Our generation has lived through and is still living through a period of revolution, perhaps far more far-reaching and dramatic than the Industrial Revolution, that mass media and technology revolution. And in the midst of this bombardment of media-based, commercially driven arts that we all experience, one of the hardest things is to discern the gold from the dross.